Hello everyone, my name is Ujjwal Sinha. I am currently practicing in the Supreme Court of India. I am working with Mr. Aman Lekhi, who is the Additional Solicitor General of India. Firstly, I would want to thank Mr. Pawan Vashne, who is the Director of Paathshala classes, who has given me an opportunity to speak on a topic which is very close to my heart. It's been my desire to speak to you on this topic. A topic which is that why a person should choose law as a career, why a person should choose law as a profession. I take this opportunity to speak in this topic as it's a very important decision of your life, as this is something which you will do for the rest of your life. I want to tell you at the threshold itself that this decision would either make you or break you. Meaning thereby, because if you choose law as a career, if you choose law as a profession, this is something which you will do in different capacities. You might choose to become a judge, you might choose to become a litigator, you may choose to be a member of parliament, or you may contest elections. You might choose to join in-house as an in-house counsel. You may also join a law firm, or there are many other areas of law which I would discuss in this video later. I know that through this video I am talking to people who are aspirant of law. I know this people who might be there in 10th standard or 12th standard will be watching this video. People who are continuing with their graduate course, who intend to pursue law in their postgraduate course, might also be keen or might be confused that whether they should join law as a career or not. But let me tell you, when I say this with full confidence. This decision, if you take that you want to do law, this would be the most important and the most brilliant decision which you would have taken. However, there are certain misconceptions and myths about taking law or choosing law as a career. The first misconception which I would want to discuss with you is that most of our parents think that during their time, a person who could not do anything used to choose law as a profession. A person who was incompetent or a person who could not get admission in engineering or doctorate courses would end up doing law. I would want to clear this misconception and this myth as at the very threshold itself by giving examples which are very glaring, which stares you on your face. Because if we see our country India, every great politician was a lawyer back then. Let me give you some examples. Let's start from the great founding fathers of the Constitution, which was Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. He went to Cambridge University. He pursued law. Let's take the example of the founding father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji. He was also a lawyer. Mr. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was also a lawyer. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was also a lawyer. All these people helped to give us a constitution which is now called as the best constitution of the world. It's a dynamic constitution, and when I say this with great humility, that these founding fathers who were also lawyers have given us a constitution which is dynamic, and it's also called a living document because it has evolved during a period of time. We have seen a number of amendments in the constitution. I would also want to give you examples of other lawyers who are not from India, but they also hold a respectable position in the country. Mr. Abraham Lincoln was also a great scholar and legal luminary. We all know who was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founding father of Pakistan. He was also a great lawyer of his time. I have given you certain examples to draw home a point that the misconception of people that any person who could not do anything chooses to do law is absolutely flawed in its letter and spirit. Now, I would want to deal with a second misconception which is very prominent these days. Most of the students who have chosen science in their 12th standard, or students who are doing graduation in engineering or MSc, or have opted for MSc or BSc, always ask me a question whether law would be a right option for them. I always tell them that law is meant for all. It's a way of life. It's any person who has the desire or a passion to pursue law as a career should do law irrespective whichever field he has taken in his graduation or in his 12th standard. Now, I will give you an example. Let's suppose a person who is pursuing his 12th class as a science student, or an engineer who is doing an engineering course, has a misconception that law would not help them. I would want to clear it. Let's take an example. There are different branches of law. The first branch would be constitutional law, civil law, criminal law, information technology, intellectual property rights, and many other. So let's first focus on the problem which a science background student generally faces while opting law as a career. Intellectual property rights is a very evolving study of law. It deals with intellectual power or property, which we call as patent, copyright, and etc. Designs also. Now, if a particular person who has done his graduation in engineering would well be able to understand the intricacies of science, of technology. Let's say if he has done a chemical engineering, if he wants to develop a patent. So for that, a lawyer with an engineering background would have importance and would have an edge over other law students who do not possess that expertise. So I would say that it is not that law, any person could choose law as a career or as a profession. Now let's take an example of a person who is studying commerce in his 12th standard, or who is doing BCom in his graduate course. For him, law would be a very important field, and it will help him to develop as a very good lawyer in the field of corporate law. Now by corporate law, I mean all these legal compliances with respect to companies, like formation of a company, like preparing memorandum of association, articles of association, and all those legal compliances which a company has to do. If a person who has commerce degree would be in a better position to understand that what would be the best suitable decision for the company. Also, now let's suppose a person with a commerce degree, or who has studied 12th in his commerce, chooses to practice law or chooses to do litigation, and let's say in his office he comes across a case which involves financial fraud, which is now we are generally seeing in day-to-day affairs. Lot of scams are happening, and all these people who are behind these scams are being prosecuted. Now for a layman or a person who has done arts, for him it would be difficult to understand that how a person who has committed scam and who has been prosecuted has managed so well to do this scam. He must definitely have dealt with the figures. He must have laundered money. So for a person who is having a commerce background, it would be more easy than others to understand that how this scam has happened. Now, taking the third field of study, which is arts, how arts helps a particular person to choose law as a career. As a student of arts, the student must have studied history, must have studied political science. Now, if a person who has studied arts and if he intends to join law as a profession, that person could contest election and could help the society at large in order to ensure that the laws are framed in the most effective and most efficient manner. The person who has studied arts would also help to understand the society better. Now, I would also want to deal that if a person chooses or end up practicing law, what career options does he have? There are a number of opportunities which now a law student can opt for. The first choice which a person or a law student could opt for is that he can practice law, meaning thereby he can practice in the district court, he can practice in the high court, he can practice in the Supreme Court. Second, a law student may choose to become a judge. Now, to become a judge, there are two ways to become a judge. Firstly, you may choose to give the PCSJ exam for lower judiciary. Secondly, you may also choose to practice law for a particular period of time before the High Court or the Supreme Court. And if the Supreme Court judge or the High Court judge is of the opinion that this lawyer has eminent skill and has attained a particular excellencies in a particular field of law, they might consider him to be appointed as a judge of a High Court or a Supreme Court judge. The third field is that you can join the corporate field of law, and meaning thereby you have two options. You can go and work as an in-house counsel. Secondly, you can also join the corporate field as a general counsel, where you will be dealing with all the legal compliances which a company has to do. Moreover, you can also ensure if you have studied law, you can also contest elections. You can become a member of parliament or a member of or a MLA, and you can help to develop law. Also, as a lawyer, if you intend to choose law as a profession and you are more into academics, you can become a professor also. You may choose to go and study abroad. You can become a barrister in the UK, or you can practice law in any other country. Now, the next question is that from where you can do law. First of all, if I would want to tell you that all these coaching institutions are very important so that you can get a proper guidance. I would want to tell you that Paathshala classes is a very good and a renowned classes if you want to choose law as a career, because all the faculties of Paathshala classes are very thorough with their subject and they have expertise in every subject which they teach. So the first thing I would suggest you is that you should focus that from where you should get the guidance if you want to choose law. The second is, if by God's grace and by your excellence and by your hard work, if you end up getting through to a law school, then you should choose that in which law school you should study. In earlier times, there were very few law colleges, like there were only very few central universities, AMU, BHU, Jamia. There were very few options which a person could choose for. But nowadays, law is one of the most widely accepted profession or a career. So now there are almost 1500 colleges. There are more than 25 national law universities. There are many central universities. There are private universities in which you can choose law as an option. Now, I would want to discuss a very, very important point which I want to draw home, which is that whether this is the correct time to choose law as a profession. Because earlier people used to do engineering, people used to do doctorate, people used to do choose any other profession rather law. But let me tell you, law as of today has a lot of exposure. And it's a saying in law that sky is the limit for law. If anyone chooses or wishes to choose law, and if he does it with his desire and intention, that sky is the limit, he can achieve anything. There are so many options which are right in front of you if you want to choose law. As I have already told you that what all options do you have. Let's compare law with other branches of studies. Let's compare law with engineering. If a person ends up doing engineering, what option does he have? If he chooses chemical engineering, he can only pursue his career in chemical engineering. If a person chooses software engineering, he can only choose his career in software engineering. Now let's say if on the other hand a person chooses law. If he chooses law, then he has many options. He can become a judge, he can practice law, he can litigate, he can teach law, he can pursue his LLM, he can become a barrister. There are many options available to him. Now let's differentiate between law and any other subject, which is doctorate. A person who is expertise in gynecologist will only be able to treat patients who have this particular disease. A person who is a general psychiatrist would be only be able to deal with people who are having that particular disease. So you restrict yourself in any other field. You restrict yourself in engineering. You restrict yourself in doctorate. You restrict yourself in any other branch. But you don't restrict yourself in the field of law. Law consists of many different facets. You may think that law is a 3-letter word, but it isn't. It comprises a whole lot of society. Any problem which you face today, a solution you will find in law. Let's suppose an example. Now during the situation of this pandemic, this COVID-19, people are having problem that they don't have Aadhaar card. From where does Aadhaar card get its legality? It's a law that every person should have an Aadhaar card. Now let's say if you want to drive a vehicle, if you want to drive a car, for that you have to have a driving license. From where does this power come from? This power comes from the Motor Vehicle Act. Let's say if you want to enter into a contract that yes, I will supply you 10,000 kgs of rice, and let's say your supplier does not give you that 10,000 kgs of rice. What can you do? What option do you have as a lawyer, as a layman? You will choose law. You will have to file a case against him. You will file a case for specific performance of the contract. Every person who is doing any profession or any service, let's say a doctor does a particular surgery, and that surgery was unsuccessful. Now the patient files a case against him. What option does he have? He will have to come to a lawyer. He will have to discuss his problem with his lawyer. Let's say a person develops a patent, a technology, an invention. We are living in a world of invention. He comes with an invention. He gets that invention patented. Now a third person uses that invention and infringes that patent. What option that engineer has? That engineer has to come and consult a lawyer. So at the end of the day, it's the lawyer, it's the law of the land, which will help you to become a better citizen, which is a solution for every problem which you face in your life. So please take your decision wisely, and I would repeat this, that if you take this decision and if you practice law as a profession, this would be the best decision of your life. And I say this with utmost confidence, because every person I see in today's world who is doing good for himself, if an engineer or a doctor would only do good for himself, but a lawyer or a person who has studied law would do good for the society. So please take this decision with clear precision and with a clear thought. Thank you.